The government just announced a pension increase. $4 a week. They want you to feel grateful for that. But at the exact same time, in the exact same announcement, they quietly rewired a different rule. One that's going to strip far more than $4 a week out of hundreds of thousands of retirees' pockets. Nobody put that part in the press release. I found it in the fine print. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand. Because this isn't one pension change, it's three. And the one getting zero headlines is the one that actually moves the needle on your money. Let's start with the part they wanted you to see. From the 1st of July 2026, the income-free area, that's the amount you can earn before your pension starts getting cut, went up. Singles can now earn $226 a fortnight before it touches their payment, up from $218. Couples combined can earn $396, up from $380. That's it. That's the boost. $8 a fortnight for singles, $16 for couples, before tax.
And retirees noticed immediately. Scroll through the comments under any pension news post right now, and you'll find the same joke over and over. That $4 a week doesn't cover a loaf of bread, let alone the electricity bill. One commenter pointed out it's not even worth an extra hour of casual work. Another asked bluntly whether politicians think $4 a week is supposed to match what inflation has actually done to grocery prices.
Here's why that anger is fair. The part pension cutoff, the point where your payment drops to zero, also moved. A single pensioner now loses their payment entirely once they're earning around $2,627.80 a fortnight, up from roughly $2,516. Couples combined hit zero around $4,016.80, up from about $3,844. Sounds generous, until you remember indexation is supposed to track the actual cost of living pensioners are facing. And this is where the story usually ends for most finance channels. Small increase, retirees unimpressed, moving on. But that's not the real story. The real story is what happened to Deeming.
Here's how Deeming actually works, in plain English, because Centrelink will not explain it to you this simply. It doesn't matter what interest your bank account, term deposit, or shares actually pay you. Centrelink deems, that your financial assets earn a set percentage. That assumed income then counts toward the income test that decides how much pension you get. So, if the deemed rate goes up, Centrelink assumes you're earning more, whether you are or not, and your pension gets cut to match that assumption. For years, these deeming rates were frozen, low, almost forgotten. Then, on the 20th of September 2025, they moved. The lower rate, which applies to the first roughly $64,200 in financial assets for a single person, or $106,200 for a couple, went from 0.25% up to 0.75%. The higher rate, above that threshold, went from 2.25% up to 2.75%. Then, on the 20th of March 2026, they moved again. Lower rate, 1.25%. Higher rate, 3.25%.
Those thresholds also indexed upward to about $66,800 for singles and $110,600 for couples from July 2026. But that's the smallest part of this story, and I don't want you distracted by it. Here's what actually matters. Run the numbers on $100,000 sitting in savings. Under the old rates, Centrelink deemed that money to be earning around $86.54 a fortnight. Under the new rates, from March 2026, that same $100,000 is deemed to earn about $105.76 a fortnight.
That's roughly $19 a fortnight more in assumed income. And because pensions taper by 50 cents for every dollar of income over the free area, that translates to your pension being cut by close to $9.61 a fortnight for every $100,000 you hold in savings. So if you're sitting on $300,000 in the bank because you did the responsible thing and saved hard your whole working life, that's a real ongoing cut to your fortnightly payment, permanently, unless the rates come back down.
Advocacy groups like COTA have been blunt about this. Their position is that hiking deeming rates after years of them being frozen is going to blindside a lot of older Australians who never saw it coming. And COTA has gone as far as urging retirees to actually shop around for bank deeming accounts structured to match or beat these new assumed rates, so the gap between what Centrelink assumes and what you're actually earning doesn't cost you twice.
Let's be precise about who this hits and who it doesn't. If your financial assets sit below the threshold, under roughly $66,800 as a single or $110,600 as a couple, this change barely touches you. If you're a full pensioner with modest savings, breathe. This one isn't really about you. If you're sitting on a healthy nest egg on top of your pension, this is the part of the announcement that actually costs you money, and it was never going to be the headline.
Now, to be fair, and I will always be fair on this channel, because the second I start cherry-picking bad news for clicks, I've lost your trust, and I'm not willing to do that. There is one part of this year's changes that's genuinely good for a lot of retirees. The assets test cut-offs, how much you can own in super, savings, shares and other assets before your pension starts shrinking, went up on the 1st of July 2026.
A single homeowner can now hold up to $333,000 in assets, not counting the home itself, and still get the full pension. That's up from $321,500 the year before. A single non-homeowner, someone renting, can hold $600,000, up from $579,500. Couples went from $481,500 to $499,000 as homeowners, and from $739,500 to $766,000 if they're renting. Notice the gap between homeowners and renters is deliberate. It exists because owning your home outright is treated as its own form of security, so renters are given a much higher asset buffer to compensate. What this actually means? If you're a retiree with moderate savings who was previously just over the old cutoff and missing out on a part pension, you may now qualify. Some people who got nothing last year could get something this year purely from this indexation.
So here's the honest, unspun picture of 2026 in one sentence. The government gave you more room to hold assets before you lose the pension, gave you a token few dollars more you're allowed to earn, and then took a much bigger bite out of anyone with meaningful savings sitting in the bank. Two of those changes help you. One of them, quietly, does the opposite, and it's the one that actually moves real money.
I don't think it's fair to just hand you numbers and move on, because behind every one of these percentages is someone's weekly grocery budget. The reaction from actual pensioners has been raw. Beyond the jokes about $4 not covering milk, there's a deeper frustration surfacing. People pointing out that years spent raising children instead of working left them with barely any superannuation heading into their 60s, with no real path to build it back after a lifetime of paying tax into it.
Advocacy groups tracking this echo the same concern. A meaningful share of pensioners are living at or near the poverty line, and a few dollars of indexation isn't designed to fix that. It's designed to keep pace with a formula, not with someone's actual cost of living. I'm not going to pretend I have a policy fix for that in this video, but I do think you deserve to know exactly where the money is moving, instead of just being told pensions went up and left to find out 3 months later why your payment didn't. So here's the practical version of everything you just heard, boiled down. If your financial assets are under the threshold, roughly $66,800 single, $110,600 couple, the deeming change barely affects you. Your main win this year is the higher asset test limits, which might genuinely bring your pension up or bring you into eligibility for the first time. If you're sitting well above that threshold, the deeming rate hike is quietly cutting your fortnightly payment right now, and it compounds the more you hold in the bank versus in an account structured around these new deeming assumptions.
If you're not sure which camp you're in, that's exactly what a financial information service session through Services Australia is for. It's free,
and it's the single most underused resource in this entire system. This video is general information, not personal financial advice, and your situation has details a 10-minute video can't capture.
Here's the truth in 4 numbers. Deeming rates nearly doubled in 6 months. The income-free area moved by $4 a week. Asset test limits rose by roughly 3 to 4%. And depending on which side of that first number you're sitting on, 2026 either quietly helped you or quietly cost you, and almost nobody explained which one applies to you.
That's exactly what this channel is going to do every single week. Take the announcement the government wants you to skim past and show you the number underneath it. If that's useful to you, the second most useful thing you can do, after actually checking where your own numbers land, is hit subscribe, because there's always another policy, rate change, or cost of living update that deserves a proper explanation. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.